Hello.
Can you hear me?
Uh,
I
yes, I
can
can
hear
hear
you.
you. Well, you hear me, but I didn't,
Yes.
yeah. So, sorry. Like I said, ringleader flying without a net, high wire act, and the ringleader. A little scary. Oh, well, we tried. Nobody can say we didn't try. Um, at least it wasn't expensive, you know? I tried it's a lot less expensive than starting a software company. um, let's see. I don't know how many people have been able to. Oh, I haven't sent it into chat yet. Let me do that. Oh my God. Okay. Let's see. I send his email. What the hell? Hello, hello. A small, quiet, humiliated. Thank you for putting up
It's
with
not
me.
it's technology,
I do this so you don't have to. Oh my. Okay, so I've just sent the link out to the Zoom. All Mission Genealogy email subscribers should get it via chat. Um, this has like been a hunt, a scavenger hunt. See if you can find the live video. Welcome, welcome. Um, uh, I can't say I wasn't prepared. I didn't try. I will I do feel strongly. Hello and welcome everybody. I'm still decompressing, to be honest. Um
Deep
I
breath.
deep breath, deep breath.
Really.
I was so ready. I think it's my ears. I think it's my headset that's the issue. But I also know that I can't get live chat in my platform the way they do for StreamYard and stuff. I took a little debugging to confirm from vendors that that can't be done right now. So maybe that's not ready for prime time. Now I'm willing to admit it. Let me see. I set out, now that I can see all of you and you can hear me and everything. I set out in the email I sent on Tuesday, I think. Yeah. Or 7th, whenever that was. A list of things that I thought would be helpful to use in getting to use Substack. But I'm looking around the room. All of you are competent at things like navigating around Substack. There's not a lot of point in my doing a here's how to do this recording, and that's using up your time poorly. Let's maybe we open it up to questions and just take it that way. How's that? Yeah. Do you have
I'm going
what
to ask
it
you,
there you go.
are you are you doing this because you're wanting to not have to pay for anything, or since Zoom works so great, I mean, and I know you're paying for Zoom, so what about somehow either how much is it costing and maybe we can help with that? That way you don't, if it's not ready for prime time, maybe it needs to be something, because there's a
Yeah,
lot of
that's
aggravation you didn't need to go through, and we lost a
you're
lot of people.
very you're very sweet. You're very sweet. No, it's not for money. I did think about whether I could use this to entirely replace Zoom. I can't because I want to be able to talk to you one on one, right? I'm not going to replace the Zoom. And frankly, Zoom is still a fraction of what I pay for Dropbox or Backblaze and things like that. I'm not giving those up either. And I've don't even think about those as Project Kin or mission genealogy costs either. It's not the money. What my feeling is, Zoom sucks for the video quality. The quality of the recording, to be able to see how we move around, it's brilliant for this. I mean, it's the best there is, as far as I can tell, for this kind of an ad hoc meeting. It's extraordinary. But to do a high quality recording of something, it's kind of. So maybe the right answer is to do these meetings like this, talk about what the topics are, and then I can go record that way to my little heart's content to get the 1080p or 4K video, to get it across. Welcome back, Robin. Good morning. Or Jennifer, good morning.
Thank you. Hello.
And Robin, thank you for recording this. I don't know what we might do with the taking notes, and I guess I'm recording the screen too. Anyway, we'll figure it all out. But as we were just good morning, as we were just discussing, I think the best approach, and Linda, that was really a good. I appreciate the articulation of the perception, and that's very helpful. To be clear, I'm not doing this to remove Zoom from my diet. I will continue with Zoom just because I need it anyway. I was unhappy with the video quality. Some of you may know I've chased lip sync issues for a while. I think I know what that is. I think I may have that hacked now. But I wanted better video quality. And I may just use these sessions to get your feedback about how I can be helpful, if I can be helpful, to the kinds of challenges that you're facing with respect to getting the most out of Substack, and then how, as a community, this is working and what else we can do. How about it that way? Fair?
Sounds good.
Yeah. So, what issues have you had? What's motivated you to come today? Yes, Deborah.
With the 31 Days of Women, I suddenly have 95 posts on my Substack page, and it's like I've got my tags, but it's still on that opening page. Is there a way to find it on the web?
Managing chaos? I don't know the best way. I think we're all in pursuit of better ways. What I have found, and when I first came into Substack with Project Kin, I already had about 200 articles that I brought from, well, maybe it wasn't that many, but 100, let's say, from our previous attempts at platforms. We used something called Podia, blah, blah. And so I had that problem right away. And I've kind of taken both the sections and the tags strategies for doing that. You've already got tags. And the key difference between a tag and a section is a one-on-one. You can, a given article can only be in one or only one section, but an article can have 14 different tags, and those 14 tags can, be on 75 different publications or documents, posts. So in your case, if for every tag, can you give me an example of a tag that you had?
Family stories.
Family stories. So for your Substack, and again, remind me of the Substack name.
I can't remember. Narratives, kinship projects, something like that.
The handle. What's the URL handle? The subdomain.
Your Family Quest.
Your Family Quest. yourfamilyquest.substack.com/t/family-stories. I could even look that up right now. Let me see if it works.
Well, then I have to make sure that really is one.
That's what that's Family Quest. What was it again?
Your Family Quest.
Your Family Quest. Sorry.
Genealogy. That is definitely one.
So the way I knew that, Substack is really, really good. It says page not found. T. They are really, really good at being hello and welcome. Oh, you missed all the fun. We sent you on a little scavenger hunt. Deep apologies. I'll explain later.
I saw something about egg on face.
Yes.
Trying to go do my shift at the library, but I just wanted to be of support.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Got a tissue? So we're talking a little bit about how to organize a page and using tags. So when you typed in the yourfamilyquest.substack.com/t and then family stories, is that right? Family stories was the tag?
Genealogy tips. I know that's one of them.
Oh, okay. So we're talking about how to use tags to organize your page so it's a little less noisy, a little easier to navigate. Genealogy tips. It's doing a curious redirect, which is interesting. You have tags already. You're already doing this across the top. And yet there's a funny redirect. Why is that? I'll figure that out later. What you have done is what I was going to suggest, which is to identify key tags and take the articles in those tags, find the URL related to the tag. When you create a tag, Substack will go in and automatically create a URL based on that tag. Okay, and the URL will always be your publication subdomain. In your case, Your Family Quest is the publication subdomain. Substack.com/t/whatever the slug it's called. Everything to the right of a slash is called a slug. So whatever slug it creates based on the tag you create. And you, by the way, when you create those tags, you can change that. But if you change it after you've created it, you will, I think actually it auto updates, but it might be worth checking to make sure that it doesn't leave stranded URLs out there. So you'll notice, for example, from your page, yourfamilyquest.substack.com, and then when you're in that page and you tap on the navigation bar across the top, it does go to that tag. It's still that length. I imagine that you have more tags than those across the top, right?
Yes.
And perhaps you're looking at ways to better group those. Is that right?
Well, when you first go to my page, you see the article that I'm featuring for the month, but then you say, show me more posts, and there's 95 of them. So while they're filed under the tags, you still have this list of 95. And is there a way to get rid of the 95 without deleting or?
What I would do, well, you're seeing the view all is taking you to the all most popular, or across the bottom, the view all takes you to the entire archive. What I would do in your case, especially since you've already defined these high level groups, is go back into the settings section, and I can share my screen here. And yeah. Okay, can you hear me now? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I would go in, so I obviously can't affect yours, but I can go into my own dashboard, pop over to settings. So in settings, if you come down here, you've obviously seen this because you've already changed some of the things. Go to theme editor. Okay, this is actually changed a little bit. They used to call this, I don't know, brand and things like that. In my case, I went a little section crazy in the early days because I was naive. It's okay now. Every section is kind of like a tag, but don't let that bother you. So tap here where it says home page. You've already seen this, and add go down here to where it says add block, which is how I got all of these blocks. In my case, I conceptually think about, for Project Kin, I think about it in terms of the categories of event types, like the cloth stories Linda Hines did. So I have those under project recipes, and right now project recipes aren't appearing in my homepage. I mix this up from time to time, but let's just go do that. So I can go and add block. And do I want a grid like these, a list, a feature? The one up here at the top, that's a feature. Let's do a feature. Let's do a feature, and let's do it about not all recent posts. Let's go to sections, and let's make it, see how many I have. I have a lot. I can also do this by, instead of sections, do it by tags. You would probably do it by tags. So I'm doing it by sections, and I want just, let's go wild and say 3 columns of, oh, that's too many. Okay, 2 columns of recipes here. Where is my fancy cloth stories? Oh, I'll show you how I fix that. So let's do that, and let's all promote that all the way up here to the top. Thank you very much, Linda, for asking a really good question. I'm putting you front and center. How about that?
Yay.
Yay. So there is now project recipes are right there at the top, and it is sorted. When you go to view all, it appears there. And I'm going to show you, oh, actually, I didn't want to do it that way. I wanted to do that. Let me come back here. I didn't want to do it as a grid. Really, so I just showed you how to remove it. Let's do that again. I want to make it a feature. Yeah. So let's do a feature and call it recipes. There we go. We want a feature of recipes, and we want that at the very top. I move this stuff around so often that, you see, I'm not even hesitating to just change it. There we go. So it's appearing right there, right after the very, oh, that's why I didn't do that. Feature. I change that. Well, it'll be temporary anyway. That's fine. See, it bothers me that it's like, I was a kid. I was on a high school newspaper, and you sort of learn rules. You don't have this sort of tombstone thing going on. That's not so good. I would rather have it be left, right, alternate. That's what I go for on the layout, but that's okay. We'll let that go. Oh, I know. I'll introduce show top posts right in between. That at least separates it a little bit. And there it is. If I say save, this is now live. And if I go into Project Kin, let's just go to Project Kin, you'll see that changes live, right? And now if I want to go in to view all, I hit view all. I can see all of the articles, but I can also control which one is front and center. So usually the front and center, the featured one will be whatever the latest one is by default, but I can also go in and pin to project recipes. When I pin to project recipes, it's front and center there, but it will also be front and center on my homepage. It will be. Come on, man. Oh, I'm coming back. It doesn't know that I made a change. I have to do a refresh to get it to notice. Oh, come on, man. Oh, this one may be pinned. If this is already pinned. No, it's not. Hide from top posts. How about that? No. All right.
Now, see, this is what I've been really confused about. And, you and I talked about this about sections, because my understanding was sections was like me having a completely different, like put all my art on that. And that's not what you're showing me. You're showing me basically what we're tagging are the sections, like if I, do tutorials about genealogy, or maybe just a memoir section, or maybe just women ancestors, that could be a tag or a section. So I'm kind of confused. And what you're doing, I don't do any of that, and I haven't gotten that far in it. So this is all new. I hope I'm not the only one.
No, I'm sure you're not the only one. And I would say don't be intimidated by it because it's this easy to be changing it up. I use, for example, I have a section for project recipes, which is a one-on-one. I also have a tag for recipes. I have a tag for stories. I have tags for all of those things. And that gives me a lot of control on how it appears, and I'm using it in these groups. You may choose to have a section for your art that is part of your same publication, or you may choose to create a separate publication for your art as distinct from your stories. I think your art and your stories are really, they're probably even appealing to different audiences.
Right.
And that's
right,
actually, yeah, that's a really important point.
So, of course, the one I did with the cloth stories, that's an altogether different thing. That's combining them both. But the whole thing is having a separate, so I'd have another account. And so nobody would really know about that.
There is account, there is publication, section, and tag. An account is not the same thing as a publication. So, for example,
right.
Barbara Tien, actually,
Right.
Barbara at Project Kin has one publication of Project Kin. I am a collaborator or admin on the publication that is Mission Genealogy. Mission Genealogy is actually a different account. And I think maintaining different entities, different accounts is really troublesome. It's really hard and frustrating. When you follow and subscribe, you're following and subscribing as an account, not as a publication.
Okay.
In your case, I would recommend creating either a separate publication or a separate section of your one publication. If you think that there is enough crossover between the two, it might make a lot of sense to simply make it a separate section. And let me show you what else is really important with, I'm going to go with this one for now. I can go back and play with it later. Another thing that's really important about about how you set up sections. If you have sections, you can, I'm going to do this for Mission Genealogy. missiongenealogy.substack.com/newsletters. And guess what? I said Substack is really, really structured about how they do URLs. So if you see a URL for one thing, you could probably guess at what the URL is for somebody else. I guarantee you that for every single one of you who has a publication and has sections in your publications, tapping this will show all the publications, all the sections, because every section creates its own separate newsletter. Okay. And the reason that's conceptually important, as I may have confused you, because when I do it, I actually have lots of different sections, and by default include everybody in all sections. If I were to do it all over again, would Project Kin be a separate publication or be a separate publication? I think I'd have to go think about that. But the important thing about having different newsletters, different sections that create different newsletters, is that you can allow your subscribers to find them separately, and even to, it's not going to work here because I own that one, but let me go look at yours, Linda. Your publication, yes, is Linda Hines, and I could go look at your newsletters. And I can choose to subscribe. I'm already a subscriber. That's curious. See, it says I'm a subscriber. It says I'm a subscriber, right? So this shows me all the publications in that one section. You have one section. And this lets me, it's doing that I don't know why it's letting me separately. Oh, because I am not subscribed to that separately as a section. I am subscribed to your whole publication. If you introduce another section that is art, when you set it up, you have the option to turn on the toggle to default subscribe all of your existing subscribers and by default add other people. You don't have to do that. You can do that separately. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it would be, if I like did art, it would be one of those, that would be a section.
I think it's a good argument that it might be a section. Yes.
Because nobody will find me if I do art on its own.
Well, it's hard as starting all over again. Yes.
Basically it's starting all over again. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I do think I need to keep it separate because most people in genealogy are not interested in my art. And I don't blame them because that's not, sometimes I'm not interested either.
Put another way, though, are the people who are interested in your art interested in genealogy?
Right. It's the same kind of, yeah.
I mean, I struggle with the same thing between Mission Genealogy and Project Kin. The reason Robin and I created Mission Genealogy as an entirely separate account and publication is because we wanted to be able to both have equal access to control it. And that's why, it had to be a collaboration that was equal. And that was the only way we could think of to do that. In hindsight, if I may say, I might have made it a separate publication because I did want it separate from Project Kin. In Project Kin, I originally had like something like Substack and family history as a separate section. And I always had trouble trying to put the two together. I was doing little tutorials and things like that because my subscribers coming in from outside of Substack were really confused. Right, Kathy?
Well, I'm still confused about those two too. I know both the same. To me, it's genealogy. So
yeah, I know.
But
so anyway. Think it's a branding question. It's not a technology question, is what I'm saying, and I think you understand that now.
Yes.
As we step through all of these, I find that as long as I am clear on the facts of how it works, I will try to be consistent in explaining it. And if I were you, I would not be worried about not getting each of these pieces the first time. They're going to keep rolling around until all of a sudden they all start to come together. Things like, remember, the URLs are really consistent. /T, guess what the URLs are for sections? Anybody? /S. Of course they are. Right? Yeah, I mean, it makes perfect sense. It's completely consistent. So if you want to know what the URL is to see what somebody else has recommended, what do you suppose that URL is?
/R. Yeah.
Well, /R would be one solution, would be to show each recommendation one at a time. But that doesn't really make sense for recommendations. Yeah. So it is the word recommendations, just like the word newsletter, or subscribe. If I want to go to the subscribe page, that's how I get here. If I want to go to the welcome page, oh, surprise. Right? That kind of logic, then you start to see, oh, okay, these are the structures that every publication has. Not everybody has a publication because having a publication is a bit more of a lift, right? You got to be thinking about what I call it, what are the names, what are the sections, all of that kind of stuff. And that gets intimidating and confusing. So that's why it was late last year only. Hello, Karen, welcome. It was late last year that Substack changed. Excuse me, I moved my Zoom settings and anyway, it was just last year that Substack changed how someone can publish and allowed anybody here know they don't have a publication? Robin, do you have a publication? I think you do. Karen, welcome. I'm talking through publications and being able to write without a publication. Do you have a publication? Do you know?
I don't think I do, Barbara.
Ah, okay.
Not her
Okay.
either.
An example of one without one. I think that might be.
Thank you. And thank you. Kathy Stone is always so graciously welcoming and putting up with me. So I'll pick on you. Kathy Stone, of course, if you don't already know, is the star of my monthly Kathy's Corner. So for Project Kin. So here, thank you. That's a great example. So here we see Kathy Stone. Always the URL will be their name and their @ handle, which, by the way, even if you have a publication, you also can appear that way as well. So look at this. Substack.com/@projectkin, right? This is the account. This account is in these other publications. In the same way, Kathy Stone, stop, I'm everywhere, stop. Kathy Stone writes notes, but look, she is also a contributor to, that's worse. She is also a contributor to Project Kin because she writes for Project Kin. So I've set her up as a contributor. And all of her posts, her own post for which she is the author, appears here, which is why I always make an effort when I have guests. Jennifer, you've been a guest. Bill, you've been a guest. Kathy, you've been a guest. Linda, you've been a guest. All of you, I have tried to list you as a bylined guest, and then it appears under your posts. And by the way, I think somehow in some magic world that also gives you SEO benefits and things like that. Okay, so far we've talked a little bit about navigating around, a little bit about publications and being able to write without having a publication, which I think is a great change that Substack added because it just takes away the heavy lift of getting started. We've talked a little bit about navigating around. Karen, you've just popped in. I earlier asked if there were any specific questions that folks arrived for that were bothering and confusing them. I'd be happy to address that.
Just the total newbie and just trying to figure it all out. I really don't even know what I've got going on.
That's okay. So actually, if you received the post that I wrote on the 7th earlier this week, talking about what I would talk about, all about how I would do this over Substack Live, which obviously I didn't. And again, thank you all for following me through this scavenger hunt to find it. I included my favorite support tools. And one of them for folks getting started, not only do I include in there the support pages like support.substack.com as distinct from substack.com/support. It took me a long time to understand this. I kept bumping into it. I couldn't understand why. Substack.com/support is what they call their support widget. That's where if you have a publication and you go to posts, you may have seen a little red button pops up that says ask a question. That's their support widget. That's their AI fueled widget. Super useful because it's well done in AI. And most importantly, if you have a publication, it is aware of your settings. So you can ask it things like, what's the difference between a tag and a section? I'm so confused. Do I have any sections? I think it'll answer that, tell you about your own. But you have potential, and it will escalate to support. If you ask it often enough, the same question that You got to talk to support to get to a real person. You can even phrase it like, may I please speak to a support technician? And that will often get it escalated, although it takes time. The other one I would really, really recommend that I included in here was on.substack.com. This is Substack's own publication. And this is where they often talk about why they're doing what they're doing. They talk about where they're going with things that they have. And that's how I knew to be rattling their cages about the RTMP-based Substack Live, that kind of thing. And now I have the name of the product manager to pester the difference between categories and not categories or parts of categories. That stuff is sometimes it's that they're ambiguous. They are not clear. It's not you. In fact, from supporting my own software for a long time, I got to tell you that 9 times out of 10, when people are confused. Whoops, did you lose the? There it is. That you can't figure out why something isn't working. Most people blame themselves, and most of the time, it's not them. It's the platform, which is why the old "when in doubt, turn it off." It's true, because it probably really was the platform, and you're turning it off back on again. We'll probably just fix it because it does a restart and a refresh and everything else, which is we learned didn't quite solve our problem on Substack Live, but that's a separate issue. Other questions?
I had a
Yeah.
question.
Yes, please, Robin.
We're tags, and those are what we put together when we're right before we publish, right?
That's right. Great question. Let me give you an example of doing that. Actually, for this one, I'm going to pop over to my mission genealogy. Hold on a second. Let's basically share a different screen. I'm moving you between windows. Woohoo, that was fun. And I am going to share a post that I have ready to go. Yeah, I think I have a post ready to go. Where is it? Yeah, I know I do. Come on, man. Where is it? I guess it was one I just sent out. I forgot about that. Okay, so I am going to share my screen. This one. So we just changed over from, yes, you can hear me. Yeah. Sometimes it seems to lose audio when I jump. So this is a post I sent out. I was holding up earlier that I sent out on Tuesday. And if I hit edit, even though I previously posted it, now I get this magic settings button. Why settings is different from the update, I don't know, but here we are. So here's where you add tags, and you can add as many tags as you want. Remember, Substack don't do hashtags. They do not. You will see them in posts. It's like a newbie giveaway. That's how you know someone's new to Substack, because they think that typing the hashtag in works. In fact, let's talk a little bit about embedding and links too when we get through this point, because that's a larger topic. But tags in Substack are like a database tag. You're putting a label or a tag onto the post itself, and you can pull that up, grouped together with everything else that has that same tag. So yes, you would add it here. Anybody want to make something up that I probably don't have?
Do you have full text search?
Notice
I put that as a tag, and I wanted to know, can I pull that up?
I'm going to show you.
You were kind of okay.
Notice how I'm typing.
And
that. First of all, there's no dashes.
I
And
put a dash in mine.
I know. I intentionally, because I'm going to show you something. I'm going to hyphenate just one of them, capital. That's how I'm going to enter. Oops, I didn't. Hyphen. Okay, so I have just created, by typing that, I created a new tag on my publication. It only affects my publication, appears nowhere else. Right? And why is that that? It's probably going to tell me it's unhappy about something. It did not. Let me go back and see that it's still there. Nope, it was fine. Okay, so it created that tag. And sometimes, by the way, when you go into settings, into that settings window, and you come back here and you're about to publish because you made some change, I think it's a bug. Sometimes, and it may be it's some of the changes, this update button does not illuminate. I think that's a bug. When that happens, what you want to do is dirty the window. It's a technology term. Dirtying the file, dirtying the window is causing this page to feel like it needs to be updated. I usually just hit a space or a backspace, something like that.
Yeah.
I'll do it. And then I come over here, I say update. Yeah, go ahead and update now. It's not going to send an email. It's just going to quietly make the little update. It also quietly makes a new tag. So when I go into settings and I go into, I usually, because it gets really long and it's not alphabetized, I just type tag and it pops up where they are. So I don't have to do any fooling around. And so this, I have a lot of tags. Notice that the URL all begins with the tag. Notice something about all of these URLs. Anybody?
They're linked.
They're linked, right? Because if I click on this, it's going to open it up in a new page. That's right. But
They all start
they
with
all
that
have
/T /.
That's right. That's right. So here is the T up here. It's telling me, this is telling me what the slug, remember that word before? This is the slug to the URL that begins with my subdomain, which is my Substack name, my subdomain, substack.com/this, actually, and then this. So the slash is in this part. And then we create, and now it's alphabetized for me, and we entered full text search. So see full text search. Now notice something else about this, Robin. Do you notice something else about this as compared to this?
It's linked.
It's linked, but there's something else very important that'll just make your life. Two hyphens, and it's all lowercase.
Yeah.
So here's something I swear to God, I did not know until like last year. In the HTML, the specification for the web, that is controlled by all web pages everywhere. All of the capitalization to the left from the top level domain.com, for example, and to the left, the subdomains and the domain and top level domain, capitalization is irrelevant. It's just like email. Capitalization is irrelevant in email. Everything to the right of the top level domain, the .com, it will be capitalization sensitive. And many website platforms just stop the noise and say, I don't care what you do, I'm going to make it lowercase. So they solve the problem for you. From my perspective, that's just, they're like dragons. The reason that's done is because the distinction between capitalization and not is used in corporate environments, and they control their, all of the folders, the files level sections for their sites, and it matters to them. And that's why the protocol did it that way. So Substack makes your life easy by ignoring what you enter and making it always lowercase. All right. So full text search, I had upload, I had hyphens. It was just solved that way. I can also go in here, edit, and change that. So for the tag name full search, just say search. And now it will change and you'll see it here. I can also go in and say, okay, I didn't mean to do that. Boom, done. That's huge control, really powerful. And it's also easy because it's changed when you're writing a document, or, you're about to release a document. Having had mission genealogy for probably 9 months now, I've created all kinds of stuff that maybe member preview. What's that all about? I have no idea. You know, it's noise, and I can go in and change it. Some like Roots Tech 2025, that was just so much noise. I created a short code here, and you may have noticed that I get fancy sometimes and create redirects, and that has nothing to do with Substack. So missiongenealogy.org/rootstech. And it goes to RT25. See how that redirected changed the name? I do that all the time because I'm doing is using my website tool, which is managing the domain, to create shortcuts. That's all aliases, shortcuts. That's all it is, and much more useful that way. Really good question. So, oh yeah, that's the bad news. We're not going to go there. This, by the way, is your widget. Now we know what the word is. Knowing what the word is that Substack uses is another really useful hack for finding your way around their combination of the widget and the support, because you can play around with search. You're all good at search, as you're genealogists. Go into the support pages to look for what you're looking for. And once you figure out what the keywords are, like chat overlay is what I was trying to do, then you go and ask the widget about that. And the widget will even keep your past. I'm not quite sure I understand. Sometimes the whole threads end. I'm not sure when they end and when they don't end, but they can keep some history going. Maybe it's until you give them a rating, and then from then on, it's like, okay, that issue is closed. Other questions? Those were all really good.
Well, I want to say something about, I'm glad that Deborah brought up the thing about tags and sections. And I like how she's got it, because you go, like, she has all those, all those things about the women. And like mine, I mean, there's just a bunch of stuff. And it reminds me of how my normal blog, my normal website, I have sections so that people don't have to go through and try to find them. So the tags and the sections will be automatic. If you make a section of, like you were talking about, which full text search, if you have a section of that, then anything that has on your tag full text search is going to go into that section.
Almost. Anything that has the tag full text search goes into the tag for full text search and will appear in the URL for the tag for full text search. That has nothing to do with a section. You're using the term section as a generic way to refer to a page. So let me explain. So if we go to genealogy tip, she's got this navigation bar across the top organized based on tags, not actually sections. See the URL up there? Those are tags. Oops, where'd I go? Yeah. Oh, I went to index. She's got something else going on with redirects. I'm not sure what that is. Come back to that. So this is you're calling this a section. This is not actually a section. It's a tag. So let's go back to the dashboard again. And remind me to talk about what Mission Genealogy subscribes to and doesn't. I try to not be subscribing to things from the account that is Mission Genealogy, because it's more than I can handle to keep up with things. Almost everybody that subscribes to Mission Genealogy, I immediately subscribe to them from Project Can. So that's how that works. But if we go to settings here and we go back to tags, right? And you understand, we're all clear on this. Each one of these creates a page. Now let's look at navigation. So this is the navigation bar links. This is how you're creating. So we are now looking in the settings and the navigation bar links for mission genealogy. Here is mission genealogy, home, notes, chat times, and so on. Home, notes, chat are default, and they appear in this order. I can't move where chat and notes appear. And then I've got this other stuff. Some of them are external links, like chat times, and that's just that goes to World Time Buddy. And then I've got events, which was that events page, again, my other page. This is, that's just a cheat. It could just, it's a redirect. It could just as easily be to a tag. And here we go into sections. And I can make them appear or disappear. See how I can do that?
Right.
This should probably be gatherings. I do have gatherings around.
So we really
that's why.
we really need to talk about that as being a nav bar. Get away from sections. So really, whatever we got up there, and like you said, the default of mine is like home, notes, archives, and about. That's a nav bar, okay?
Right.
So, see, I'm still unclear about sections. Then I don't. If I go ahead and put like you have the text, full text search, okay? So if I made that a part of the nav bar, that would not be a section, right? That's not a section, and
Correct.
automatically those would go in there because we have a tag on them, right?
Right. So
Okay.
a section and sections, tags, and external links can all appear in your nav bar. The fact that they're in the nav bar is actually not related to what kind of thing they are. A tag, but here's the key difference. This is really the very most important difference. For a given post, you can put it in no sections or one section. You can never put one post in multiple sections. That's a key concept. And second, a section users can selectively subscribe to some sections and not others. The word section, honestly, is the problem. They shouldn't call it section. They should call it newsletter, something. But then they have a problem with, your publication with multiple newsletters. Yeah, that's what it is. It's a publication with multiple newsletters. Okay. And each post can be in one and only one section. So when you go back again to editing a post, when you go into the settings section or page, see this? This is where you're choosing what section it goes in. If you do it all. If you don't have any sections, I think this is even grayed out.
Yeah.
So one and only one, and a newsletter. So Jennifer, I know you've thought about this. And you also have one place study, and you have previous experience with WordPress that you're bringing in. Can you talk a little bit about how you have done that?
It took me ages to set up my one place study on Substack because I just didn't know whether to do it that way as part of tracking down the family or as a totally separate newsletter as I have with my other fitness newsletter. But I really didn't want to have to play around with 3 newsletters. So eventually I set it up under tracking down the family. That was easy to do.
You set it up under, meaning a separate section?
As a separate newsletter.
A separate newsletter?
Can you pull this up so we can see?
Same account,
Wait a
but
second,
separate newsletter.
Let's go there. Okay, so here's your page.
Yeah.
And so you have across the top.
So I had nothing to do with the one place study there.
Right.
But if you go haverfordwesthistory.substack.com, it will come
separate
up
publication.
under the same account. Yeah.
Oh, wait a second. And so the way I get there is to say, I know we're going now to, because it's an account versus a
Yeah.
publication. Remember what I was saying earlier? You have
Yeah.
substack.com/at tracking down the family. And now we see she has two different publications. This is the solution I'm describing for you, Linda, as an alternative versus having separate sections of the same one. So Jennifer, when you said you have a separate newsletter, if I may, in Substack terms, what you're saying is you have a separate publication.
Oh, yes,
newsletter.
that's right. Yeah.
It's okay. That was a test. I know you were testing me. It's okay.
Is that the same thing as section?
No. Thank you for asking that, because that's the point I was making. So let me review again. If I go to, excuse me a second, Jennifer, do you have multiple sections in either of those?
No.
Okay, then I'll go to a different example. So as we were saying, from Mission Genealogy, I know I have different newsletters. Every newsletter is a section. So I was going to say plural, sorry. Okay, so to go back again, we talked about tags and we talked about sections, right? And as you'll recall, any given post can be in none or one section. It can never be in multiple sections at the same time. It can, however, have 47 different tags if you really have the stomach for it. And any given account can have multiple publications, but a post only ever appears in one publication at a time. You can cross-post a publication into somebody else's publication, but that's completely separate. So the arrangement for a publication, a post lives in a publication. It can be assigned to one section, and it can have multiple tags. Tags or sections each designate a unique URL. That's the S or the T we were talking about. And those S's and T's can all appear in the navigation bar. Can external links. Okay, so that's what we have going on here. Now, as we take that knowledge over to, did I lose it? There we go. To Jennifer's configuration, her one account, which is at tracking down the family, has two different publications, not the same thing as a section. In neither publication is she using sections to separate things. She might at some future point. She doesn't right now. She can go in, and this, I think, is the default for the nav bar. She can go in and change this if she wants.
Can you find out, like with Jennifer's, on the only way to know that she's doing all those other things is to go to her account. There is no place.
Not unless she put it there. So going back to Mission Genealogy, for example, or actually to Project Kin, I'm going to pick on my own because I know what to expect. Ooh, that's different.
I have a question so I make sure that I understand this correctly. So say I want to have the 4 different surnames as publications, would that be correct? And then if I'm writing about one surname, it would be under one publication and I would continue on going with that and then choose a different surname for a different publication, or am I wrong on that thought?
That's a really, really good question.
Okay.
And really, you could do anything you want to do, but it's a question of understanding what it will accomplish and what your goals are. So the other thing we haven't really talked about in the difference of having separate publications versus separate newsletters of the same publication is that when you have subscribers, they're going to, you configure in your dashboard what sections they, whether new subscribers are automatically subscribed to that newsletter. So the most default, usually the default thing that's set is that for every new section you create, all subscribers currently are automatically added to that list for that newsletter, and any new people are added to that list for that newsletter. That's the default. You can toggle that on and off. You can change that, but it does mean that any subscriber can go back to that newsletters page and say, yeah, no, stop. I don't want to hear any more about these other families, for example. However, if you were to, right, so I have so many because I was stupid when I first set this up. But if, however, you like Jennifer, oh, here we go. You can always click on their handle and that opens their page. If you have separate publications, signing up, subscribing to one publication does nothing for the other publication.
Yeah.
And so they don't even know about the other publication unless they came here or you explicitly tell them and give them a link. And even if you tell them and give them a link, they have to go follow it and separately subscribe. So in your case, if these are all different families of the same line that you're following, maybe your cousins aren't going to be interested in your husband's family. And that's fine. You can default subscribe them and they can unsubscribe. You can tell them, here's where you go to unsubscribe. And you can unsubscribe to those, but still keep these. That might be a good solution for you. I would be very careful about going crazy creating new and separate publications until you understand that separation. Now, in the case of a one-place study, where there's a whole infrastructure of people that are following each other for the one place, I totally understand why it makes a lot of sense to have a separate publication. And the same thing for you, Linda. You are on the border in terms of, is my audience for this thing interested in that thing?
Right.
And that's if you do create a new publication, there's a lift of introducing that publication to a new audience, of managing and maintaining the pages, the organization. I took it even further because I'm just that crazy. And I created Mission Genealogy using an entirely separate account. And that meant that I have to both keep up that account and keep up the publication. And I did that, as I said earlier, because I was sharing it with someone else, I was sharing it with Robin Stewart. And I wanted us both from the get-go to have complete control over the full publication. We trusted each other. That's just made sense. Now that I've done that, I can't take that publication and bring it into Project Kin. And I'm not sure I want to. I'm honestly, it was always a bit of an experiment. And I think having the whole how-to Substack is separate from what I'm doing with Project Kin. And I've already done the lift. It's already got a base going of people, of members. I think I'm going to leave it that way. But someday, hint, I could be open to adding a community of people managing it. I don't have to be the whole thing. So, that gives me the flexibility to do that. By the way, I did this for something with using Google Groups. So I have a dedicated email address and to manage the Google group and other people hang in, blah, blah, blah. It's the same kind of idea.
Barbara,
So, go ahead.
I'm in the same situation with my retirement phase.
Yeah.
So I set that up before I brought Tracking Down the Family over.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that you could do another newsletter another publication on your newsletter.
Mm-hmm.
So if I was starting again now, I would put that all here under Tracking Down the Family under another publication, because it does my head in sometimes.
Yeah. Do you have a substantial following with a bigger following in one or the other?
Tracking Down the Family is bigger, but not by much. So it's fairly big following on the other one. Yeah. And if I like, I can't bring it over to here, can I? I would have to just start a new publication.
Uh,
Is that right?
That's a good question to ask. It's a good question to ask the chatbot. I
Yeah.
don't think so, but there's a very straightforward way to export your posts and to import your posts.
Yeah, I've been
So,
doing that with the
okay,
one place study. Yeah,
right. So, one thought would be essentially to take the time. I would make sure that when you create the publication, you put it in private mode.
yeah,
And then go through and play with doing all of that and notify all of your and after you had it all set up, then you go and notify the other subscribers. Here's also a good place where you send them an email that tells them to resubscribe here,
yeah.
and I would create a redirect. So
Uh,
this is where this little magic redirect I use all the time would be very helpful, so that
Yeah.
anybody who was a subscriber can clicks a button and they still get to you and your new home,
Yeah.
but with probably a different name because that name was already taken.
Yes. Yeah.
But that's okay because your redirect will always send them from A to B.
Yeah.
And you don't delete the other publication, just leave it there and bring
Yeah.
it over here.
Oh.
I would probably take the posts offline. You never want to have the same content in two different places exactly the
No.
same.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. I didn't realise
That's
that would be
just a thought.
possible. It would make life easier.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Other questions related to that? Because I wanted to, yeah, go ahead.
So what if I decided that I wanted to do a section? I hadn't done a section before. Where do you go for that?
Great question. You are full of the best questions here, if I may say. Bonus
Well, thank
points.
you.
So to create a new section, I'm going to go to the dashboard and I go to settings. Sorry, not post there. To settings. And then there it is. Come here to sections, which of course you could also have done a search. You come to sections and you're going to click add. You give it a little blah, blah, blah. You give it an image and say create. This is the part about, do you add new subscribers, copy over, that kind of thing.
And that's part of genealogy just ask dash Robin. It's not going to be a new publication, right?
Correct.
And what if does all the subscribers get that section?
Yes, they do. They all get the sections. They don't even get, it can be, no email is sent to them just because you created a section. No noise goes to them. Every publication is exactly the same as it was. If you have posts you previously released and you now move into this section, all you do is go to that settings page and pull the drop down section title.
Okay.
So one of the reasons I like using sections is I get this blah, blah, blah description. I'm not going to do it here, but let me go show you one that I've already created. Let's go back to sections. We go to edit, office hours. Okay, so I have this little description here, office hours. I can even change who it's from if I wanted to. See, it's telling me what the URL will be. I get a little image, so get your images ready before you do all of this. It automatically does all of those changes. And notice this right here. We're going to go to this link. And since I didn't change anything, it doesn't matter. missiongenealogy.com/s/s/whoops. Office. Okay. Whoops. What did I do? Huh, did I spell that wrong? That's back. I happen to. Oh, I didn't put a hyphen here. It's right up here up at the top. When you have something as a tag, you don't get this little preview, the little image and the preview description of the section. You only get that sections. From Project Kin, let's see. These are all external. Those are direct links. I ended up with Project Kin because they have so many sections related to events. I created a new sub-level page. So this page is not actually on Substack. I tried to make it look like Substack, but it's not. And so this is how I then go to section pages. That's a section. And there she is right up at the top, just like I promised she would be.
Good.
And I get this.
That helps me solve my problem.
Right. By the way.
What?
No, I was just going to say, notice how good they are with video. If I just mouse over that, it just starts playing the video.
Yeah.
Those are really powerful, expensive, hard to do tools that Substack just does for you free. I interrupted you.
No, I was saying I have different like books, Italian, England, and there's different ones. It's like I can just do sections instead of different publications.
Yeah, I think most of the time sections can be a better separation than going to separate publications. But we've seen
only
in the
because
case
of the lift. I have to lift. Yeah, I can't do it that many times.
Well, not only that, but the lift for your readers. Do they have to subscribe separately to each one? They're not going to do it.
No,
right?
they won't.
We had like 15 people on the Substack Live, and we lost like 10 of them to come over to Zoom. You know, each step you take people through, you're going to lose them. And so that's always worth considering. And that's why I resisted doing this interim page, but it was just out of control up on the top. It was just out of control. So this let me do that better. I'm actually thinking, for example, the Roots Tech page, also a separate page hosted elsewhere. It's actually hosted on my website builder. I think I'm going to ditch that as a separate page and just roll, because it's already in the event recordings section.
Yeah.
It was, specific to the event itself, the Roots Tech ride along.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, sure. So the one thing I wanted to explain, and I was thinking about whether I should do this as its own. I can roll it into the notes for this. We have enough of a recording here. I wanted to explain, because I had someone subscribe to Mission Genealogy and then frankly get upset with me for not reciprocating and subscribing back. And it's funny that it was only now that I get this. It's I've been here for a long time and no one ever asked me that. I think part of it is a culture on Mission Genealogy or rather on Substack, that doesn't expect the same kind of social media reciprocity, hashtaggy kind of followers, ratios kinds of thing. It's just not a thing here, which I think is healthy all by itself. Second, I realized that I probably should explain how I'm personally managing this, especially now that Robin's no longer on my little Mission Genealogy team, and I'm still trying to figure all of the mechanics of that out. So first of all, you see something that doesn't make sense, let me know. I'll fix it. But I set up Mission Genealogy to be, as I said, a separate account so that we could share it. It has this one publication, and the publication does its thing, and the purpose is to have these meetings. The purpose is to make these connections and help each other and create a center for gatherings and for office hours. I'm not in this account all day long. If I were in this account all day long, what am I doing? My own. So instead, technical term. So instead, I Project Kin, and in fact, most of the time, you see right here, I post as Project Kin. Actually, there are a few instances where I posted as my personal account. I try not to do that because, again, my worlds collide. So I am always I am bringing people in, and I'm hoping to, share. I go out of my way of making @names and things like that. But I'm not turning around and subscribing. I do notice when I get new subscribers and I run over there and say, oh, who's this? They're probably my people. So I just subscribe to them. Am I expecting them to subscribe back in Project Kin? Not necessarily. It's always nice, but not necessarily. And that's the kind of back and forth. So I wanted to find a way to tell people that it's no slight that I'm not following you. Many of you watched me share screens where I am not your subscriber. That's why I think you know me well enough to know that I am your subscriber over at Project Kin. So that's my little speech. It would have otherwise been a whole post. And there you go. Yeah.
There's some people I have not subscribed back because I will get a lot of political things. I just want to keep it genealogy.
Yeah.
I was wondering, do the people that follow me see any of those people that follow
Yes.
me?
Yes,
So
they do.
That's why I don't do it then. Yeah.
That's actually a really good insight. And frankly, especially today, especially for Americans. First of all, I try very hard to have a global reach with all of this. As you know, and again, thank you, Jennifer, from Australia in the middle of the night. It's early morning now.
Early morning.
I'm very sensitive to that. And I try very hard to take an attitude for all of my Project Kin and Mission Genealogy things that I never want anybody in the audience to ever have to remind me that they don't agree with me or get into a discussion about politics, because that's not the topic here. And if anything, I want family history to bring us together, even if I disagree with people about other topics. Yeah. So I have solved that problem myself by using an entirely separate account. That's the at Barbara Tien, to be so on full disclosure, authenticity. That's a separate account. And in fact, when I bump into, there is a fabulous Substack, for example, can't think of her name off the top of my head, but her publication is called In My Opinion, I think. Brilliant writer, high school politics teacher in Virginia, I think. And she writes some really, really interesting historical references that I started following her for in Project Kin. She also covers a lot of politics with great depth and thought. I'm reluctant to like those from Project Kin, even though I do agree. So what I do, I copy the link out, I run over to my other personal account, paste it in, and give her the love. And that way I try to separate those lives. I figure, you all know, I've said it more than a few times, I'm in Berkeley, California. You can probably guess as to my politics. That's enough. I don't need to go into more. It's kind of like having conversations at the Thanksgiving table. Yeah. Is that fair? I can't say it's the best answer, and it kind of depends. The feed will always favor those you subscribe to will be shown to your friends. Those you like will be shown to your friends. I think those you subscribe to will be shown even more to your friends. And actually, there are people whose Substacks were intended only for limited audiences. But as a follower, I don't know that. Unless it says private, I don't know that. And I heard recently about someone getting basically slapped for being nice. And it's hard sometimes to do that. I have found, and I talk about this in Project Kin. I did a project recipe about creating a private podcast. Okay. I use the term private podcast because it's an oxymoron. It makes you say, what? In the same way that a podcast is a newsletter with media, right? That's really all it is. It's a regular post of recordings. So I could do that with Substack, and then to make it private, or rather to make it private, I made it paid ridiculously expensively. I can't remember, $50,000, $1 million a month, something like that. And then I took my family, all my cousins, and I comped them accounts. And now when I do a post, it only goes to paid subscribers. and it can't be shared externally. If someone shares it, sorry, not for you. The media is always protected because the media can only be viewed on screen. If the email is forwarded and there's something super secret in the text, yeah, that could be seen. So that's why it's a private podcast and not a private newsletter in that sense. It wasn't straightforward to set up, but that's why I described it down to painful details because I was thinking out loud. So you can go look at it there. But I would recommend that. And there's lots of, especially in a very complicated political environment. I'm troubled by this, but I think our general Rialto isn't really ready for some of these conversations. And to protect the privacy and sometimes even safety of people, it might be wise to create a private community. And you can import people. So you don't have to wait for discovery. If you have a Google group list, for example, you can import all of them into your private group, and they are forced to log in before they can see anything. But they didn't even have to set up an account because you did it for them and you imported them. And they don't let you do that unless you say, swear on a stack of Substacks that you have their permission to add you to the list. The reason they do that is because of the Can Spam Act. And if they didn't do that, they would lose their reliability of delivery. And you can be doggone sure they're careful about that. Any other questions? It's a long time, and Jennifer's still got a whole day ahead of her. Europe didn't even join us. So I put out a survey, a quick reminder. I have a survey all ready to go, basically saying, should I continue with Substack Live? I think I need to edit that before it goes out. I did put out a survey earlier in that email. That post I was taught. Oh, this post here. There's a survey at the very bottom about the best time to when we have our next meeting. What's in here somewhere? When do we have our next meeting? And I send you to a link from SavvyCal to preferences on times. And I'm basically trying to decide which part of the globe to favor in a live session. And Jennifer, coming from Australia, is still strong and willing to do these. But we have no one here from Europe, so we could just as easily have done this in the East Coast evening and let Jennifer get some rest or bring more people in from New Zealand and elsewhere in Australia. I know, Jennifer, that little smile that says, actually, I prefer to do it this hour of the day because I've asked before. But that's the way the globe spins. So, gosh, I can't thank all of you enough, truly. You worked with me through this insane little tour, what we called it, a scavenger hunt to find it. And thank you so very much. I hope never have to put you through that again. I still do like the high quality coming out of Substack itself, and I may reserve that when I have really good, clear specifications for something to record. I'm happy to do that. It's hard to record when I don't have an audience. So it's to be very frank, you guys have been fabulous with the questions and everything else. So feel free.
Goes the other way.
Sorry?
I said the thank you goes the other way. This was amazing.
You're very kind. You're very kind.
Thank
I'm glad. That's what fuels me. Oh, I gotta rest. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Same bad time. We'll see you in
That's it.
May, if not sooner. Keep doing what you're doing. Thank you.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All of you out there on video, thank you, and follow the link to post a preferred time for our May session, which I have a feeling is going to be over Zoom. Thank you. Special thanks to you,
Bye.
Bill, who was my guinea pig testing this. Bye-bye now.